I'd love to share. I'm sorry, folks. Let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and start this over. It doesn't look like the voice was working. All right. Hopefully you can hear me now. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be talking about opening statements and scripting. We all know and we've all heard, hey, you have about 20 to 30 seconds to make a first impression. So we're going to talk about that today. If you only have that period of time, what are you going to say that's going to make you different than the rest of your competition? What's your elevator speech? Many of us have been on different sales programs and we've had to explain ourselves, what we do, who we are in 30 seconds or less. So that's going to be part of your elevator speech. Or what's your unique value proposition? What makes you different than anybody else? So we're going to talk about what we say, how we say it, and how we can sell ourselves on value versus pricing in this industry. Because we all know this is a commodity. So we have to be different in order to be successful. So let's talk about some of the opening statements that we can use. One of the products that I would lead off with is Groove Offers. Why would I do that? Because that differentiates me from everybody else. If you just go in there and say, hey, let me see your statement, see if I can save you money, you're going to get shot out the door by those merchants because they have 10 calls coming in through their phone every week. They have 4, 5, 10 guys walking through their door every week. But what if you said something like this? Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Merchant, I've helped merchants in your community grow their business by 8 to 10%. Do you have just a few minutes, and I'd love to show you how I've assisted them. Now, why would that be valuable? One, we're going to help them grow their revenues. What merchant wouldn't like to see their business grow by 8 to 10%? And then you notice I also tied in that I've helped merchants in their community. That's going to leave them with a little thought of, hey, what are they doing for other merchants in the community that I might be missing out on? So by saying I've helped others in your community, that's going to make them hungry to learn what they're missing out on. How about this? Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Merchant, I have a tool to help you grow your business by 8 to 10% through the latest in mobile technology, the internet, and social networking. Do you have a few minutes? I'd love to show you how it works. And once again, go through the high-level benefits of Groove Offers. Then you get them hooked. You get them excited about that. And then you spin that back into, hey, this is part of a total program where we handle all your credit card processing. By the way, I'll meet or beat your current processing, and if you need a new terminal, I'll even provide that to you at no additional cost. So once again, you get them hooked, you get them interested in, and then you close out how it's tied into a total package. Here's a couple more that you see there on the screen. I'd like to show you ways where I can grow your business by 8%, and it won't cost you a dime. So if you want to give it away as a freebie, as an additional sticky product, you can use that tagline. It used to be priced at $150 a month for our Groove Offers program, and now what you can do is give it to them at a discount. Say, Mr. and Mrs. Merchant, it's going to cost you $0 to $29.95 a month. It was actually valued at $150 a month or $1,800 annually. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tie this into the whole total package, and here's what it's going to cost you. And then you blend it all in together, and you can be a little bit more expensive than other folks because you're bringing value to the table. How about these questions? Do you have a couple minutes? I'd love to tell you about an exciting and cost-effective way to reach out to your customers, to get them back into your storefront, to get them back into your restaurant a little more often. You see, these are all value statements that you're bringing to the table, and you're not just talking about saving them money on their credit card processing. One of the things you also want to do is you want to make sure you're talking to the decision maker, especially if you're calling in over the phone. If you're talking to the person that runs the front counter, they won't have the ability to make those decisions. So if you're going to go into a 15, 20, 25-minute sales program, you want to make sure you're doing it with the person that can say yes or that can say no at the end of that. See, one of your qualifying questions early on is, hey, are you the one that can make decisions in regards to the way you handle non-cash transactions? Then you can go into whatever program you're going to talk about. So you can talk about saving the money on debit due to the debit amendment. You can say, hey, we're helping businesses increase their profits by accepting credit cards, debit cards. You can tie it into the new EMV, NFC. Hi, this is Andy from Total Merchant Services. I apologize for interrupting your day today, but I'm calling to see if your business is able to accept the new latest and greatest in technology, the EMV. You know, those dip and chip cards? Can you take those today? If they say no, it gives you a wonderful opportunity to go into the value of what EMV can bring to their table. You can use NFC. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Merchant, I'm Andy from Total Merchant Services. I hate to break up your day. I know you're very, very busy, but I'm just calling businesses in your area to make sure they're qualified to accept Google Wallet transactions, Apple Pay transactions. Have you been set up for that yet? If they say no, it gives you a wonderful opportunity to do that. So you can use EMV, NFC, you can use gift card programs, check acceptance programs. You can start out by saying, do you currently have a marketing program in place to help grow your business? If you do, what does that look like? And have them explain it to you, and then wrap that back around into some of the different tools we offer. Here's some other things you can do. In here, you can tie in that we're A+ rated or BBB rated by the Better Business Bureau, and that will actually help them as well get a warm feeling, because oftentimes they're going to say, well, who are you? Which company are you representing? And they're going to want to know what we look like by the Better Business Bureau or maybe Yelp, things like that. So if you walk in there and say, hey, we're an A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, we've been around for 19 years, that's going to put that merchant at ease, knowing that you're coming in with a lot of longevity in this industry and you're not just a fly-by-night startup company. So once again, we want to talk about value, and so we want to break that into things that they may not have. So if you're cold walking in to businesses, you might be able to tell by the signs on the door, stickers on the back wall, little cardboard signs that say, hey, no checks accepted. You might see gift certificates available, and you don't see anything about gift cards. You don't see any other marketing ideas there. Those are going to be all opportunities for you to come in with value. Now, here's some other phrasing you can use when you're talking to merchants. Let's say you're going through a dedicated phone list, and you want to call on automotive specialists. Then you could use phrasing that really shows that you're specialized with them in that industry. So you say, hi, my name's Andy with Total Merchant Services. We've developed a custom program for the automotive professional industry. If you have a few minutes, I'd love to tell you part of what we do. Part of that is actually helping you grow your revenues through marketing tools. And we're also going to take a look at the way you handle all of your non-cash transactions. and we're going to see if we can reduce some of those fees, maybe even eliminate some of them. If you have a few minutes, I'd love to go over it with you, analyze your statements, and I'll be able to perform a free analysis for you. How does tomorrow at 2 p.m. work? Or how does Wednesday at 4 p.m. work for you? So one of the things you also want to do when you're talking to merchants, don't let them leave an open, loose window. If they say, well, call me back on Wednesday, don't say, yes, that's great, and just start calling them on Wednesday. Just say, Wednesday at what time? Would morning or afternoon work better for you, Mr. and Mrs. Merchant? Oh, well, morning's great. I tell you what, I have a 9:30 appointment available, and I also have 11. Which one of those time slots would work best for you? 11? Great. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put that into my Outlook calendar. If you give me your email address, I'll go ahead and send you that Outlook invite as well, so you know when I come through the door that you expect me. So that's going to help you define, help lock them in, help keep them committed into what you're offering. What if you're going to call utility companies? Once again, you can utilize some of our product and services, and you can use phrasing that might be tied to their industry. Hello, my name's Andy with TMS. We are an A+ rated processor for the Better Business Bureau. And as a utility, you're entitled to actually a special program. They have pricing, special interchange pricing for utility companies such as yourself. What I'd love to do is come in and show you how we can streamline your internal processes and likely save you some money based on the interchange levels that Visa and MasterCard have allowed us to go down to. Do you have a few minutes? I'd like to come by tomorrow at 3, or would Tuesday at 4 work better for you? Doctors, dentists, optometrists, once again, they are very focused on their credit rating, right? So you can drop our credit rating as well. Hey, we're with Total Merchant Services. We're right in your neighborhood. We are A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. And we actually have a medical professional program that helps practices such as yours reduce their accounts receivable time, set up automatic payments if that fits your business model. And we can also streamline your check acceptance. And by doing many of these things, it can actually reduce the labor and the deposit costs you might be paying today. If you have a few minutes, I'd love to show you how that works. So sometimes when you got doctors, dentists, professional offices like this, they might have to send one of their employees down to the bank every day or every other day to go get in line, make all the deposits of the checks, the cash, and things like that. Well, by bringing credit card processing, it's going to electronically speed up the credit card acceptance. Well, we have check acceptance too, so it would also speed up the time for that. They can literally deposit all their checks through the technology without actually having to walk those checks into the bank. So along with some of these things, you can actually be saving them money by saving them time and not necessarily on the credit card processing rates. So if you specialize and say, hey, we've developed a special program for your industry, once again, we're differentiating ourselves from the rest of the pack. Here we go. How about this one? We're increasing their profitability, streamlining operations. Do you have a couple minutes? And I could show you how we've assisted other businesses in your area. Another thing I used to say too, I used to walk in, and if I couldn't see anything, any sign, any weakness that I could use as a lead-in product, my typical fallback would be, hey, I'm Andy Barble, and I represent such and such a company, and we specialize in all aspects of non-cash transactions. How do you currently accept, and I could say credit card, debit card, checks, I could say gift card programs. So by saying I represent all aspects of non-cash transactions, you really don't pigeonhole yourself into one corner. You're giving yourself an opportunity to go in different ways. So they might say, hey, you know, if you're here to talk to me about credit card processing, I already have somebody, I don't need you. What I could do, since I said I handle all aspects of non-cash transactions, I can say, well, do you currently accept EMV transactions? And by then I would have likely have taken a look at their terminal, and I could tell by looking at their terminal whether it's an older one and it's still going to be swipe compliant, PCI, or if it's got the EMV slot in the front. If it doesn't have the EMV slot in the front, I'm going to know what their answer is there, and I could keep the value in explaining what EMV and NFC can do to protect their business. And then if they say, do you currently accept credit card processing? If they say yes, then what you can do is say, hey, I've noticed that many businesses in your community aren't priced properly. Sometimes they're paying more fees or higher fees than they actually need to. What I do is I'm specialized in statement analysis, so I could actually take a look at your statements today, do a free analysis here on the spot, and see if I can add value to the way you're currently processing. Now you notice at no point did I say see if I could save you money. I said see if I can add value to your current process, your current operation, or your current procedure. By saying see if I can add value to your current processing, that value could come in many different ways, right? Maybe I can give them a terminal that runs faster. Maybe I can give them a marketing tool that's going to help grow their revenues. Maybe I could add a check acceptance program. Maybe I could offer them a gift card program. Maybe they're just swiping cards today and I could bring in EMV or NFC. So by saying, hey, I'd like to see if I could add value to the way you're currently processing, once again, we're not pigeonholing ourselves again, because too often people will say, I'd like to see if I could save you money. Well, guess what? If they pull out their statements and they're at cost plus a few basis points and a few pennies, there's not really a whole lot of room you could do there. And since you said, hey, I'm going to see if I could save you money, and if you can't, well, guess what? You just kind of pushed yourself off in the corner. You don't have a lot of flexibility to go down different paths. So I recommend you use that phrase in your process now. I'd like to see if we can add value to your current process. And then by looking at the statements and things like that, we can go ahead and see if we can add value in various ways. And then if you don't get the decision maker, try to find out when that decision maker is going to be available. Because sometimes, and oftentimes actually, as we know, we're going to be talking to people that work at the counter. We're going to be talking to the employees. Sometimes business owners actually own 3, 4, sometimes 5 different businesses, and they might only be there 1 day or 2 days a week, or maybe only on the weekends. So try to lock them into certain dedicated times. Find out who that decision maker is. Well, what if they say, hey, I'm just not interested, no thanks? Well, to try to keep your foot in the door, another transitional phrase to try to keep that alive, and say, you know something, Mr. and Mrs. Merchant, I understand. Many of my current customers had that same reaction when they met me the first time. However, when they learned that our program was able to reduce costs, likely, we showed them how to advertise to their current customer base, or we actually helped them save time by streamlining their processes. They actually decided to go ahead and give me a few minutes to go over to see if I could add value. Do you have a few minutes? I think it'd be worth your time. So there's one way to do it. And then once again, try to lock them into a dedicated time. Those of you who have call centers, maybe you have appointment setters, and they're going to try to set an appointment for you, and you're going to go run it, or maybe you're the one setting appointments for your team. So what you might do in that scenario, just change some of the phrasing. Just say, hey, I'm going to have a dedicated specialist in your community tomorrow at 1 p.m. Would that work for you? And if they say no, then you could say, well, what day this week might work best for you? And then I could take a look at my calendar, and as they're giving you the date and the time, just say, you know something, I can get the specialist back out there during that time period. Let's go ahead and lock in a little half-hour segment right now. So whether it's you're setting appointments on the phone, you can still get their buy-in, you can still get their commitment, and you can still lock them into to a dedicated time slot. Once again, if you're cold walking, things might be a little bit different. I always felt I found more success shaking hands, creating relationships by seeing them face to face. You can definitely see if you have an active live audience, captive audience, when you're standing there in front of them. So any of these introductions, opening statements, scripting, things like this, they could be adjusted with just a few words to being made on the phone, or a few words as if you're introducing yourself walking into a customer. So you can say something like this, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Business owner, a lot of small businesses today are facing tremendous challenges, a lot of pressure to make sure they are protecting the card, excuse me, the card holder information, as well as, you know, protecting yourself as a merchant. One of those challenges is EMV, the new way to handle your cards in a secure fashion. Are you accepting that currently? And by then, you've likely already looked at their terminal. You can see they don't. You can go right down that path and start going down the EMV NFC transition as to how that can add value to what they're doing. So that's the best way you can do things like that. Here's another one. I've been working with business owners and showing them ways to protect their business from massive fines and actually even losing their ability to accept credit cards as a form of payment. Federal government is putting pressure on Visa and MasterCard to enforce that businesses of all sizes and shapes mandate or move over to these new mandates. Do you have a few minutes and I can help explain some of these mandates to you today or tomorrow at 1 p.m. So once again, lock that in. Now, if you're cold walking and you're dedicating a whole day to going and trying to build that business, what I recommend you do, grab a business card, and once again, you're oftentimes going to be talking to one of the employees. So grab one of their business cards and say, hey, who's the decision maker or who's the owner? Write that name on the top of that on that business card. And just say, hey, what's the best time of the week or best time of day they're here? Oh, well, they don't usually come in till Friday afternoons after 5. Great. So I'm going to put Joe, the decision maker, Fridays after 5, and then I'm going to look at the phone number on the card, and I'm going to say, hey, and I'm going to reiterate that phone number. Is this the best number to reach Joe at Friday after 5? They say yes, great. Then I'm going to build up those business cards, and I'm going to keep them with me. So when I have a little bit of dead time or downtime, I'm going to go ahead and pick up that phone, and I'm going to start making some of those phone calls within the dedicated time slot. And I know exactly who I'm going to be asking for next time I call in. So that way I'm not going to be rustling up the gatekeepers when I say, is the decision maker there? Because that sounds like a sales call, right? But since I walked up and down the boulevard, and I have names on cards of all the decision makers, I can now call in and say, hey, it's Joe there. The best time he said the call would be Friday after 5. Can I go ahead and speak to him? Now it sounds like it's a warm, friendly handoff, so that will benefit you as well. Here's another one. We've never met, but I understand you're the decision maker. Is that correct? They say yes, then you can go ahead and jump right into it. Another thing you can do too is, let's say you've had some success with one merchant. Walk 5 doors, 10 doors down to the left, 5, 10 doors down to the right, and name drop. And say, hey, I was helping Andy out with Andy's Coffee Shack, and here's what we did for them. Does this sound like a tool, a product, or a service that might benefit you as well? Or you can do this. Hey, I was just working with Andy at Andy's Coffee Shack, and he recommended I stop by to just tell you about some of the different tools and services we offer. He said you might be a good fit for this program too. Or better yet, hey Andy, since you're happy with me, is there any of your friends, family members, business associates that you know might benefit? Let's get them on the phone right now. I'd sure love a warm introduction. So that will help you grow your business as well. So another thing you can do is talk to them, and this is if you're cold walking. So when you're walking through the neighborhood, tell each merchant that you're looking to build up a group of networking folks. So hey, if you're talking to a doctor, you want to say, hey, I oftentimes have friends looking for a great general practitioner. Would you mind if I gave them your name? Or a CPA or bookkeeper. Hey, I oftentimes have friends or people within my network that are looking for a good bookkeeper. Would you mind if I took a couple of your business cards? I'd like to give them out to those people, because oftentimes, I'm out banging on doors, meeting and greeting a lot of new people in the neighborhood. I'd sure love the opportunity to bring business back to you. And by the way, can I leave you a couple of my cards, so if any of your associates are looking for any aspect of non-cash transactions, you could give them my card. I'd be happy to assist them as well. Once again, that's going to continue to start building out your network. So some of the things you need to keep in mind, once again, have that elevator speech in your heart, in your mind, and have it match your personality. So we could all create scripts, and it could work great for some. It might not work so good for others. But what you want to do is have a key thought, concept, and primarily a value statement. And then put your own personality, wrap it around that, and just once again, you got 15 to 30 seconds. You got that first time to make that first impression, and you want it to be a good one. So you also want to make sure you have the decision maker in front of you, or the decision maker on the phone line if you're making those sales calls over the phone. Get that firm commitment from them. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Merchant, is tomorrow going to work for you? Great. What time works better for you, 11 a.m. or 3 p.m.? Oh, those don't work? Well, let's try Wednesday then. I'll be back in the area on Wednesday. What's a good time for you then, a.m. or p.m.? And then once again, fine-tune that. Get their email address, pop it into an Outlook calendar invite. That's going to do a couple things. By popping it into that calendar invite, sending it to them, they agree, that they're going to see that on their calendar until you arrive. So when you do pop in, they're going to see that they committed and locked out that time. Also, by asking them for their email address, if they happen to not make that commitment with you, you still have their email address to drop them a little email from time to time. And you can drop email teasers every 2, 3, 4 months to try to retrace your steps from the past. You never know when it might be ready or a good time for them to move over. So you want to create value. So what is that value going to be? Maybe it will be cost savings. Maybe it'll be saving them time. Maybe it's going to save a couple hours a day on employees that they're using now to run around, depositing checks, things like that. Maybe it's a point-of-sale solution. Maybe they're running a credit card terminal. Maybe they have an old-fashioned cash register where they're typing miscellaneous transactions into it. And a point-of-sale solution might help them control their inventory, manage their profitability, run inventory reports. The value could be group offers. Hey, we're going to help you grow your revenues. We're going to help you grow your business. We're going to help you reach out to all your Twitter followers, people that are following you on Facebook, anybody who's texted to join, or any email addresses you've collected from your customers over the years. We can pop that into group offers and broadcast this unique offer to them right away. The value could be protecting them. It could be through EMV transactions, NFC, or PCI. That stands for Payment Card Industry Data Security Standards. The value could be that you're a trusted advisor or a consultant. You're helping them understand interchange. Maybe you're going to add check services or a gift card program. So the more tools, the more arrows you have in your quiver, the more of those products or services you can pull out of that quiver to help fulfill a need. And once again, that need is going to be tied into a value and not just tied into pricing. So know your products and know your presentation well. And what I recommend is have 2 or 3 different opening lines or opening statements based on different products or services. So then when you have that few seconds from the front door to the cash register, you can think, you can look around and say, okay, which one of these products or services or opening statements might be the most powerful or might express the most value to this merchant. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. So let's go ahead and open up our calls. We're going to go ahead and open up the chat box. Any questions you have, we'll go ahead and get those answered for you. So I'm going to give you a second to go ahead and type those in.